In 2005, three of the most powerful firms on Wall Street walked into a toy store and bought it for $6.6 billion. They put up $1.6 billion of their own money. The other $5 billion, they borrowed it and made the toy store pay it back. For the next 12 years, Toys R Us spent more money on interest payments than it spent on its stores, its website, and its employees combined. $400 million a year, shoveled straight into Wall Street's pockets. And when the company finally collapsed in 2018, 33,000 workers were laid off without a single dollar of severance. The private equity firms, they walked away with an estimated $200 million in advisory fees. This is the story of how Wall Street killed the toy store that raised America's children. In 1948, a 25-year-old Army veteran named Charles Lazarus had a simple observation. His friends were getting married, they were buying houses, and they were about to have a lot of babies. Lazarus rented his father's old bicycle repair shop in Washington, D.C., the same building he'd grown up in, and opened a store called Children's Bargain Town. He sold baby furniture, cribs, high chairs, strollers. But he noticed something. Parents would buy a crib once and never come back. What they kept coming back for over and over again was toys. So Lazarus pivoted. In 1957, he opened a toys-only superstore in Rockville, Maryland. He called it Toys R Us, with the R flipped backward, like a child had written it. And he did something no one in the toy industry had ever done before. He applied the supermarket model to toys, enormous stores, thousands of products, open year-round, not just at Christmas. Concrete floors, fluorescent lights, stacked boxes. It wasn't pretty. It didn't need to be. It was a paradise if you were 5 years old. And it worked beyond anything Lazarus could have imagined. Between 1978 and 1985, Toys R Us grew its sales 185%, while the overall toy industry grew just 37%. By the mid-1980s, the company controlled a quarter of all toy sales in America. 1 out of every 4 toys sold in this country went through a Toys R Us register. They became what retail analysts call a category killer, a store so dominant in its niche that it annihilates the competition. Department stores couldn't compete. Mom-and-pop toy shops closed by the hundreds. If you wanted toys, you went to Toys R Us. There was no second option. The jingle became a generational anthem. I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid. If you're between 25 and 45 years old, you just heard that melody in your head. That's the kind of cultural penetration money can't buy. By the early 1990s, Toys R Us had over 1,600 stores worldwide. In 1992, President George H.W. Bush flew to Japan for the opening of the Tokyo location. Think about that. The President of the United States showed up to open a toy store. That's how big this company was. Charles Lazarus had taken his father's bike shop and turned it into a $14 billion global empire. And then he stepped down. The first crack was Walmart. In 1998, Walmart officially surpassed Toys R Us as the #1 toy retailer in America. And they did it with a strategy that Toys R Us had no answer for. Walmart treated toys as a loss leader. They sold them at razor-thin margins, sometimes below cost, because toys brought families into stores where they'd also buy groceries, clothes, and electronics. Walmart could afford to lose money on every toy because toys were a fraction of their business. Toys R Us couldn't match those prices. Toys were 100% of their business. Every dollar of margin they gave up came directly out of their ability to survive. But the Walmart problem was survivable. Painful, but survivable. What happened next was not. Christmas 1999. Toys R Us launched its first real e-commerce website, and it was a disaster. The site crashed under traffic. Orders went missing. Thousands of gifts didn't arrive in time for Christmas morning. So in 2000, Toys R Us made a decision that would haunt them for the next 2 decades. They signed a 10-year exclusive deal with Amazon. Toys R Us would be the sole supplier of toys on Amazon's website. In exchange, they'd pay Amazon $50 million a year, plus a cut of every sale. Think about what this meant. Instead of building their own digital capability, the biggest toy company in the world handed its online future to a Seattle startup. They were paying Amazon to learn the toy business, and Amazon learned fast. Within a few years, Amazon started allowing third-party sellers to list toys on its marketplace, directly violating the exclusivity agreement. Toys R Us sued. They won. In 2009, Amazon paid $51 million in damages. But here's the thing nobody focuses on. $51 million was pocket change compared to what Toys R Us actually lost. They lost 10 years of e-commerce infrastructure, 10 years of data on how parents shop online, 10 years of building a digital brand. You can't buy that back with a settlement check. So why didn't they just build their own site after leaving Amazon? Because by then they couldn't afford to. And that brings us to the decision that actually killed Toys R Us. In 2005, 3 private equity firms, Bain Capital, KKR, and Vornado Realty Trust, acquired Toys R Us in what's called a leveraged buyout. Now, if you've never heard that term, here's the simplest way to understand it. Imagine someone buys your house for $1 million. They put up $200,000 of their own money and borrow the other $800,000. But here's the twist. They don't owe that debt. You do. They own your house, but you're making the mortgage payments. And they're charging you rent on top of it. That is what happened to Toys R Us. Before the buyout, the company's balance sheet was roughly 30% debt and 70% equity, a healthy ratio. After the buyout, it was 78% debt. The PE firms had loaded $5 billion of borrowed money onto a company that was already struggling. Every single year after that, Toys R Us was spending $400 to $500 million just on interest payments, not building new stores, not improving old ones, not investing in e-commerce, not training employees, just servicing debt. And while Toys R Us was bleeding cash to Wall Street, Amazon was spending billions on warehouses, logistics, and a toy selection that made Toys R Us look quaint. The stores got worse. The aisles got messier. The experience that once made every kid beg their parents to visit became a chore. And the company couldn't fix it because every dollar of free cash flow was being funneled to debt payments and advisory fees. The private equity firms, meanwhile, collected an estimated $200 million in advisory and management fees over their ownership period. Whether the company lived or died, they got paid. On September 18, 2017, Toys R Us filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. The company said it needed breathing room from its $5 billion in long-term debt. The plan was to restructure and emerge as a leaner company. But filing for bankruptcy when you sell toys is a uniquely terrible idea. And here's why. Toy companies, the Hasbros, the Mattels, the Legos, they ship products on credit. They send the toys now and get paid later. That's how the industry works. The moment Toys R Us declared bankruptcy, those suppliers panicked. They stopped shipping on credit and demanded cash on delivery. A toy retailer heading into the holiday season with no credit from suppliers is like a restaurant with no food. Shelves went half empty during the most important months of the year. Customers walked in, saw the bare aisles, and walked right back out, straight to Walmart, Target, or Amazon. The 2017 holiday season was supposed to be the company's lifeline. Instead, it was the final nail. In March 2018, the company abandoned its restructuring plan and announced it would liquidate. All 700 U.S. stores would close. All 33,000 employees would be laid off. And here is the part that should make your blood boil. Those 33,000 workers, the cashiers, the stock clerks, the store managers who had worked there for 10, 20, sometimes 30 years, they received $0 in severance. Not a reduced package, not a partial payout. 0. workers organized. They protested outside KKR and Bain Capital's offices in New York. They lobbied Congress. Members of the Congressional Progressive Caucus sent formal letters demanding the PE firms take responsibility. And after months of public pressure, KKR and Bain created a $20 million hardship fund. Sounds generous until you divide it by 33,000 workers. That comes out to roughly $600 per person. For some, that was less than a single week's pay. One assistant store manager spent 18 months searching for full-time work. A 20-year veteran took a $15,000 pay cut at another retailer. A 29-year employee lost her store manager position and had to start over. These aren't statistics. These are people whose lives were restructured without their consent. And there's one final detail that makes this story almost unbearable. Charles Lazarus, the man who opened that little baby furniture store in his father's bike shop, who built it into an empire that defined American childhood, who introduced millions of kids to the magic of a store that existed just for them. Charles Lazarus died on March 22nd, 2018. He was 94 years old. The very next day, Toys R Us began its liquidation sales. He lived long enough to know it was ending, but he didn't quite live long enough to see the last door close. So what killed Toys R Us? There's a tempting answer. Amazon and Walmart killed them. The internet killed them. Kids stopped playing with toys. But that's not what the autopsy shows. Toys R Us didn't die because the toy market disappeared. The US toy industry did $28 billion in sales the year Toys R Us went bankrupt. Somebody was selling those toys, just not them. Here's what actually killed them in order. First, they outsourced their digital future to Amazon instead of building it themselves. When your biggest competitive threat offers to handle your e-commerce, that's not a partnership, that's a surrender. Second, the leveraged buyout drained every dollar they could have used to adapt. $5 billion in debt doesn't just limit your options, it eliminates them. You can't innovate when every cent goes to interest payments. And third, and this is the one that matters most for anyone building a business, they forgot why people loved them. Toys R Us wasn't a store, it was a pilgrimage. Every kid in America knew that's where the toys live. Not some of the toys, all of them. The magic was walking through those aisles and seeing everything you'd ever wanted in one impossible place. When the stores got old, and the aisles got cluttered, and the experience became forgettable, the only thing left was price. And on price, they couldn't beat Walmart, and they couldn't beat Amazon. Today, Toys R Us is attempting a comeback. WHP Global owns the brand. Macy's has Toys R Us sections in every location. They opened new flagship stores and holiday pop-ups in 2025. Can a brand survive its own autopsy? Maybe, but only if the people running it now understand what the people before them forgot. Your competitive advantage is never just what you sell. It's how you make people feel when they buy it. The moment you stop investing in that feeling, whether it's because of debt or neglect or the belief that your name alone will carry you, you've already started dying. You just don't know it yet. If you want to see how the same forces of debt and disruption destroyed another American icon, the blockbuster Autopsy is coming soon. Subscribe so you don't miss the diagnosis.